Hi everyone, welcome to another video. So today I will be talking about my original character Shirou, and he is another minor character as part of my ongoing original character series, and he's actually Yukiro's older brother. So Yukiro was the first video that I did to kick off this whole series, so I will put a link to his video down below in the description as well as on the upper right hand corner of the screen, just so you guys know who I'm referring to throughout this video. Unfortunately, because Yukiro was the first video that I did for this series and I was still in the process of figuring out how I wanted to organize my content for this OC series, I didn't really talk much about Yukiro's personality or backstory, so I'm not going to be referencing the content of that video, but I just wanted to put his video link available for you guys just so you're aware of who I am referring to in this video. I also want to point out that Shirou, Yukiro, and my other original character Sora are all the same species, and in Sora's video I went more in depth talking about their species and just kind of the origin, their backstory, and just kind of the events leading up to where they are in the present day. And in the interest of time, I will not be talking about those events as much in this video, but I will be referencing it. So if you guys did not see Sora's video or just need a refresher, I will also put links down below in the description and on the upper right hand corner of the screen for you guys to check that out if you would like. So as I mentioned, Shirou is Yukiro's older brother, but he also served as Yukiro's parental figure while he was growing up. So very briefly, as I talked about more in Sora's video, their species lived during a time of hostility between humans and demons, and there was an ongoing human-demon war. However, for their species, because they lived in such an isolated region in the snowy mountains of Hokkaido, Japan, they were kind of away from society, so they didn't really share the same sentiments as the majority of the world, and they really didn't have any ill feelings towards humans. And their species lived in close proximity to a human village, and given the harsh environment of the snowy mountains, the demon species and the humans actually coexisted in this peaceful collaboration and partnership, and they cooperated and got along very well together. However, eventually, a human militant group kind of stumbled upon this human village and demon collaboration, and they were outraged because they couldn't believe that humans would be living alongside demons, and they thought that was like so unacceptable. So they were very outraged, and they essentially burned down the human village and killed everyone and nearly wiped out their species as well. However, a small number of them were able to escape and flee further into the mountains, where they then kind of isolated and walled themselves off from any future human interaction, just to avoid having to live through another tragedy like that again. So Shirou and Yukiro were part of that small group of demons where they were able to escape and flee. However, their parents had made the decision to stay back and fight alongside the human villagers to try to defend and just ward off these human militants. However, they were also killed in that tragedy, which left Shirou with essentially the sole responsibility of raising Yukiro. So for their species, they lived to be hundreds of years old, but I think if I were to put it into the context of like human years, at the time that this happened, when they escaped from this destruction of the human village and their species, Yukiro was maybe like 6 or 7 years old, and Shirou was kind of like in his late teenage years, probably equivalent to like a 17 or 18-year-old. So he took on that responsibility of raising Yukiro now that their parents were gone. And eventually, when Yukiro grew old enough to be independent and take care of himself, he decided to leave the species and kind of prove the species wrong in a sense, that not all humans are bad, just because he really missed the human interactions and he wanted to have that relationship again. Even though he was very young, I would imagine that even when he was a baby growing up alongside with the human villagers, like he grew up playing with the human kids and everything, and that was something that he really missed. So he left the species and went off to see if he could have that human interaction again. This pretty much left Shirou with really no reason to stay with the species as well, because he mostly saw his role as Yukiro's guardian and being able to raise him and take care of him until he was old enough. So once Yukiro left, Shirou really saw no reason to stay as well. So he decided to leave sometime after Yukiro did and decided to travel the world and just kind of do sightseeing and just really broaden his horizons and enjoy life to the fullest, because Shirou is a very outgoing person and I really can't imagine him to do well being all cooped up and really isolated with just his species and being separated from everything else that is out there. So after Yukiro had left, then he decided to leave, and I feel like because he was not only Yukiro's older brother, but because he also took on the role of kind of like the parental figure, it really strengthened the relationship that he had with Yukiro. So even though they kind of separated their ways once Yukiro was older, I feel like Shirou would still, throughout his travels, get souvenirs and postcards and send them to Yukiro. And even though they were at this point physically apart, I feel like they would still be very close and keep this open line of communication between them. When it comes to personality, I laugh because Shirou is just very different from all of my other OCs. And even though he is very hardworking, he's very responsible, I feel like he also has this really wild side, and he's very flirtatious. And I guess from a trivia standpoint, I would imagine Shirou to be kind of like my OP character. I feel like for their species, he's probably one of the strongest, and he is very powerful, very mentally and physically strong, and has a very good handle of his water elemental abilities. So that was just kind of a fun fact about Shirou. And so that pretty much brings us to the end of our video, and I hope you guys have been enjoying this series so far. We are actually down to 2 more videos and then we will be done. So I hope you guys have been liking this, and that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope that you guys are staying safe and doing well and just taking care of yourselves, and I will see you guys in the next video.